Welcome back to It Was Never a Phase Cards. In today's Pokemon Market Update, we got a few fun things to talk about. We are going to be talking about some Evolving Skies cards that have actually been moving up sneakily, I might add. And then we're also going to talk about some illustration rares. Some have been moving organically. They look like some nice good growth. Some look like they've been buyouts. So I'll break down which are buyouts, which are not. And then also make sure you watch all the way to the end because we are going to talk about some Wizards of the Coast era Black Star promos. And that's always very fun to talk about. So let's just jump straight into it. We have to start off with Evolving Skies. It's always a hot topic. And right now, I don't know if you'd be surprised. We're talking about rainbow cards. Specifically, this is the one that's moved the most, right? This is the Rayquaza number 217 rainbow. A lot of people don't like the rainbow cards of this era. I totally understand why. And they've been, fairly affordable, all things considered, especially, coming from a very expensive set like Evolving Skies. But right now we're starting to see the movement happen. 45% growth on this card just in the past 3 months, with 35% of that coming just in the past month alone. If you look at the 1 year chart, pretty much all of that growth is coming recently. A year ago, this was a $38 card. It did peak in January around 52, then dropped to around 43 in August before its current run up. So keep in mind too that this is another low supply card. So supply and demand issue happening with this one currently. There's only 18 copies currently available on TCG Player, and starting to get very interesting. We could see this card continue to move. Look at what we have for lowest listeds right now. We have one at 65, one at 75, and then it jumps up into the hundreds. One at 106, and then possibly $125 card. So if we get 5 more sales, we'll be at $125. Not a guarantee, but definitely possible. You can see in the past month, 34 copies have sold. So 5 selling. Definitely a possibility. So we could see this card break the $100 mark. That'd be very interesting, for a rainbow card. Obviously, Rayquaza very popular right now. The alternate art from the set moving very big as well. So it's not too shocking. I think a lot of people are trying to maybe scoop in on some of those potentially undervalued Evolving Skies cards and just kind of, make some good purchases before these move in. It looks like this is maybe one of those. PSA 10s have been kind of all over the place. Here's a few of the last solds, just as a little bit of an update. 200, 150, 240, 170, 180, and then 250. So between 150 and 250, sales have been kind of all over the place. There's not a ton of this card in a PSA 10 at the moment. Like I said, it hasn't really been that popular. 3,500 do exist though in a 10 with 4,700 graded, so a pretty good gem rate on the card, but just not too many copies really being graded. So that's your little PSA update for that card. Also, if we're going to talk about that, we need to talk about some of the other rainbow cards from the set. Here's the Umbreon. This is number 214, the rainbow. It's up 55% on the year. Kind of similar to the Rayquaza, what we're seeing with a lot of that gain coming recently, right? Up 13% just in the past 3 months. This card's at a 1 year high as well. A year ago, $38. It previously peaked around 57, so we're just a few dollars over that at 59 right now. But you will see the supply is a little bit higher on this card at $39. So it looks like the Rayquaza is definitely leading the way when it comes to the rainbows. Also, the Sylveon from Evolving Skies, the rainbow number 211. This one's up 20% in the past 3 months. So this one's also seeing some traction, but to a lesser degree as well. You'll see 57 cards available. Supply and demand definitely, the demand lower on both the Umbreon and the Sylveon for these rainbow cards right now. And look at the 1 year chart. The 1 year chart doesn't really look very good for the Sylveon. Like I said, a little bit of a lower demand. It's been hasn't moved as much. It's only up 11% on the year. And it actually was dropping quite a bit from 44 down to 36 before it's run now. It's pretty much at its 1 year high because it hasn't really moved that much. It's been at that $44 mark a few times. So just worth noting. It's mostly the Rayquaza, but I just wanted to talk about a few other of the rainbow cards. Next, let's start getting into some of the illustration rares and special illustration rares. I did want to mention this is a SIR, not a regular IR, but this is the Hydreigon from White Flare. Now we're going to be talking. Most of the cards that are moving right now are Black Bolt and White Flare. They're newer sets with so many IRs that the good thing is it's fun set to open, tons of IRs, right? Really deep. But the bad part is I think this is like one of the most manipulated sets we've seen in a while as far as like buyouts happen. I'm not saying that this card is a buyout happening right now, but there will be a few that we'll talk about in a second. But this card, it looks like it might be coming back up to break that $100 mark potentially. It's up 22% in the past month. If you zoom out right here, you can see at release, $147. It dipped as low as 76, and so it's seeing a decent little bounce back right now off of that low. Lowest listeds, you got one at 80 at like $90, and then it's up right around the $100 mark. So I do think that this one's going to come back up and maybe possibly break that $100 mark. It's a nice looking card. I do like the art that they chose here. Next up, this is from White Flare. This is an illustration rare. This is a Ducklet, number 109. I think it's a fine illustration rare. I don't think there's anything too special about this Pokemon, if I'm being completely honest. It's whatever. But if you look at this chart, it's up massive, 163%. But what you're going to notice, and this is a good learning lesson. There's a lot of people coming into the hobby every single day. There's new people that, watch my videos all the time. So we'll take this as a little bit of a learning lesson for you guys. This was a $12 card back here. Now it's at $30, 32. So be very careful. But what you're going to want to look at on TCG Player, especially on the 1 month chart, makes it a lot easier to see, is look at these big spikes. You can see how many have been selling per day, right? As high as 11, 1, 4, 6, right? And then all of a sudden, October 20th, 40 copies sold, right? And that was at $25 and it shot the price up. So this obviously is a buyout. It was seeing some growth before that, but then when you see that many more copies being sold in a single day, that screams buyout all day long. And just be careful. When these cards shoot up like this, they usually fall pretty hard afterwards. Right now, lowest listeds, this is where it's just kind of interesting. You got 2 listings at $20 and then it's all 40 and up, which is like well above the current market. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Sometimes buyouts, do just raise the price of the card. It can depend on the card. Usually you need a more popular Pokemon than like Ducklet for it to actually work. But sometimes after this big growth, say it was, just for an example of numbers, say it was $15, then it had to run up to 30. Maybe it settles around 20, 18. So like they see slight upticks in price afterwards, but you'll see this card probably come crashing down. We might talk about this later as one of the ones that's getting hit very hard. So be careful with the Ducklet. I'd probably avoid that personally. So that's one of the buyouts. Next up, real quickly, I just wanted to talk about if you want to support the channel. Sorry, a little bit of a brain fart. I have links down in the description. There's no sponsor of today's video. So if you want to support the channel in any way, as I do post every single day, there's affiliate links for eBay, TCG Player, Amazon. If you're wanting to buy anything and support the channel, I get a very small kickback on that. If not, no worries. I just wanted to mention that. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Next up is the Chandelure from White Flare. And now we're in spooky season right now, so I kind of like that this card's moving up right now. Although actually, this is one that I still haven't picked up. I was hoping it was gonna drop more, but yeah, it's really bouncing back right now. I do like the Chandelure line. I like what they did in White Flare, but this one's up almost 34% just in the past month, from $33 up to around $46 currently. And lowest listeds, we do have some right there at or below 40, and then it jumps back up to the 50. So we'll have to see where this one kind of ends up at. But yeah, it was on a little bit of a decline before that. $46 down to 32, and now it's a nice little rebound for the card, but I do think it fits kind of with the Halloween season, so I wanted to mention that one. This one doesn't look like it's a buyout or anything. You can see, right here, we did have 10 copies sold, but I don't think that's anything too crazy. It's not that much more than 7 being sold here. I don't think this is a manipulation play or anything. I think this card's just moving organically. We do have Vanillux right here. This is illustration rare number 113 from White Flare. If you look at this card, it doesn't really look like, especially in the past month, it's up 43%. This doesn't look like a buyout or anything either. You don't see a big spike. Doesn't mean it couldn't be either. Maybe people are changing the way that they're buying out and they're just buying like smaller copies every single day. That's always a possibility. But it's not your obvious buyout play. So this card, it's up, 105% in the past 3 months, from a $14, $15 card up to currently in the 30s. So some very big growth. We'll see where it fell from. Okay, this is one that hasn't fallen at release. We see this happen every so often. A card like hovers around a low value, $13, $14, and then it recently shot up to around 30. So that does happen sometimes. It really just depends on the card. So yeah, this one's up pretty big, 105% in the past 3 months. Lowest listeds right now are kind of all right around 30 at that current market price. So Vanillix looking pretty good, actually. Sawsbuck, this is number 092 from White Flare, illustration rare. Another one that's up pretty big, 21%. I think this is a bounce back card. If we zoom out a little bit, you can see it release 18, then fell to 14, and now we're at 20, which is an all-time high on this card. Nice looking illustration rare. I do like this one. What's it done in the past month? Yeah, so most of this coming just in the past month alone. 20% gain. Nothing really stands out. I don't think this card is being manipulated either. And lowest listeds are right there in that $20 range for Sawsbuck, sorry. Next up is Electros. Now, this is a card that, if you've been playing Legends ZA like me, I don't know if any of that is fueling the run on this card, but it's up 90%. This is illustration rare number 115. This one's actually from Black Bolt, so 90% up. Although if you look at the 1 month, see, it's a lot easier. You look at the 3 month, it doesn't look as obvious, but you look at the 1 month, it's up almost 40%. Huge uptick in buys right here. October 16th. 16, and that's only 16 copies. It's not that crazy. It's not like a 40, 50 copy buyout, but just be careful with this one as well. Although this Pokemon, is, I wouldn't say heavily featured, but featured in ZA. So, I think this was actually, correct me if I'm wrong, is this not the release date of ZA? So I don't know if there's any correlation there. But just be careful with this one as well. It's up pretty big. Currently around $18, and lowest listeds are all higher than that, 22, 23, and up. So that's what we have for the illustration rares. Last one from Black Bolt. Next up, let's talk about some Wizards of the Coast era promos. Now, this is Team Rocket's Meowth, Black Star promo number 18. 18 out of 53. Now, this is one that I remember this card back in the day. I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, that this was a Toys R Us exclusive promo, I think. But you can see right here, 25% just in the past month. Huge spike, right? 82 copies sold. This is screaming buyout all day long. And now with an older, vintage card like this, I would say there's less chance for it to drop quite as drastically. And it's still not that expensive. It's around $22. So when it comes to these older cards in a kind of a buyout situation happening, it's a little different than the modern IRs. So we'll have to monitor this one a little bit more closely. Let's see what it looks like on the 1 year. 356%. A year ago, this was a $4 or $5 card. Now it's at 22. So we'll have to see what happens after this big buyout, and where it falls down to. But yeah, I don't expect it to retrace quite as hard as a normal IR. Lowest listeds right now are a little bit above that current market price in the $23s and $24 range for Team Rocket's Meowth. I do think this is a fun promo. I do like this card. And that got me hunting. Once I see a lot of times when I'm doing the research for the videos, we'll see that this card is up, and I go, okay, well, let's check out some of the other WOTC promos. And here's one that I noticed was up pretty big. I remember this card as well. There's so many Black Star promos, from the Wizards of the Coast era that just hit me straight in the nostalgia. But this one's up 44% in the past 3 months. This is EV number 11. Nice looking card as well, if you have that nostalgia. Not that many copies ever sell in a month, around 17, but it's up 44% in the past 3 months is really good. 1 year chart's looking very good as well, 216% a year ago. This was around a $15 card. Current market price, $47. And lowest listeds are all higher than that. We're creeping up at 48, 49, 50, and up. So the Black Star Eevee moving up. This one I wanted to bring up. It's not up as much, but I just wanted to mention it. We just did a short on this video. I just did a crack out of this video. It might be going to PSA, or it's going to save my binder. I'm not sure, but a very nice looking. I like there's a non-holo version of this as well, but the holo version is the one you want right here. Yeah, holo foil. We're already selected on that. Okay, so this is number 9. Sorry, Mew. Up. It's only up 10% in the past 3 months, but if you look at the past year, it's still not that crazy. 50% up. But I just wanted to talk about this card mostly because I like it. I think it's a stunning looking card. I like this card a lot. So it hasn't really done much since it's been as high as $61 back in March. It's fluctuated. It did dip down to 50, and now it's kind of back up, fluctuating a little. But after its big jump from the 30s and 40s up into the 50s, 60s, it's kind of just been bouncing around in that range. Nothing too crazy, but I did think it was worth mentioning. And then lastly, this is another Meowth promo. This is a Black Star promo number 10. If you're an older collector, you may remember this card as well. 56% in the past 3 months. When you look at this card, it only like, not that many sales either. So this one looks a lot more organic. Doesn't look like the other Meowth. Doesn't look like a buyout or anything. $41, $42 currently. The 1 year chart too, showing just massive growth. 218%. A year ago, this was a $13 card, and it's just very steadily, just slowly chugged up with not too many dips. There was a little dip that happened here in February. It went 18 to 17, nothing crazy. And then it's just been chugging up and up. So currently around a $40 card. Lowest listeds are all right there, 41, 42, and up. So another nice looking Wizards of the Coast era promo. So that's all I have for you guys in this one. A little bit of a shorter video, but I think we covered it was like a decent variety of stuff. I like when there's kind of different things to talk about. So yeah, the Evolving Skies stuff, I do think is interesting. Let me know in the comments, like, do you guys think that we'll see a resurgence on those rainbows at all? Or is it just kind of like, is it kind of one of those things that maybe, I don't want to say like won't age the best, but it's just going to be like looked upon of like, yeah, they really tried those rainbows, it just didn't work. Because yeah, I don't know. I could see it kind of going either way. It really just depends, how the market, takes it. So there's a lot of times where stuff is like, people didn't really like that. And then later, it shoots up in value or whatever the reason is. And then all of a sudden people flip the script on them and they go, oh, I always liked those. So, the rainbow, definitely I could see a scenario in which people really flip the table on that one. But rainbow's moving, illustration rares. Like I said, Black Bolt and White Flare, they're going to be very prone. You're going to see more of these buyouts as things happen. There's just too many illustration rares. And, for the most part, they never really take. It's really like the definition of a pump and dump for those who are doing it. And, there's so many examples of it. It spikes up big and then it crashes down hard. Like sometimes it goes just back to right back to where it was, especially if it's not a popular Pokemon. So it's always nice to like determine what's a buyout, what's not, stuff like that. So you can know what's a little bit more organic. And then obviously I like talking vintage. So I like anytime we get to mention any sort of vintage stuff. Vintage never really, if a video is dedicated about vintage, it just doesn't get the views. It's kind of sad. But I understand like the newer generation coming in, like doesn't mean anything to them. The cards don't look as good, right? You can say that, right? But it is what it is. So we'll try and mention it whenever we can, because I do like talking vintage. So, but that's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.